Hello. I got lucky enough to be able to have my very own Natasha Denona midi Gloom. How did I do that, you ask? Well, I'm gonna show you. So I actually used the My Dream palette because this is my dream, obviously. And I went through my extensive collection of MIDI palettes and was able to create this. I don't have every single MIDI, unfortunately. I'm missing a couple. There's ones like the bronze where I intentionally didn't purchase that. But I went through my collection and I came up with this color story. Obviously, it's based around her mini Gloom that she just came out with, which I enjoy, but you know, everyone would want a MIDI of this. So I thought I would come up with my own color story. And the look I have, the first look that I'm showing you is from this palette, and I created that. I'll go into that also later, and then I'll explain the color story and why I chose this. All right, we have the inspiration on top. But one of the things I was thinking of was Gloom, and so I guess when I come up with colors, I would have possibly chosen a little bit of a different color story, but there's things like warm-toned purples, warm-toned pinks, and magentas. I personally do not like those, so even though I was kind of tempted to put them in because I did think that they would go with the color story, I definitely chose to stay away from that. I am a lover of grays, so I had a really hard time not just adding so many grays. And then even shimmers. It was hard to not just keep adding shimmers. I feel, now I understand Natasha Denona's pain on why she puts in way too many shimmers. I myself am a matte fan, but shimmers can be really fun, so maybe I understand. But I'm a matte lover all the way. So how I came up with my color story is I tried to think that she used earthy greenish brown, there was some greens, there was like this odd, it's kind of like a pink, it's like a taupey champagne, so I went off of that. In my mind, it's like, well, this is gloomy, and I also like incorporating bright, fun pops, and Natasha Denona used to really put a little bit more emphasis on exciting, unexpected twists, so I tried to incorporate that. I'm like, let's channel older or younger, which, how does that go? Prior Natasha Denona. So I thought we would incorporate, and these are not the correct shade names. I have these all listed on the back. It's a nail art tool, but I use those to poke out. They fit perfectly, nail art tools, and I've painstakingly, every single one of them, labeled the palette and then the proper coordinating. I just go 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 11 through 15. So this would be right there in the Roxa palette. So in my mind, we're definitely going to be incorporating a little bit of that cool toned, deep purple berry color, and I also wanted to have it to have like coordinating, these are columns, those are rows, so coordinating columns that made sense. So we have 3 strong color stories of the columns, and my personal belief is not every palette, but you know, every palette should definitely have a black, so that way you have that versatility to make it so much deeper. I think sometimes her palettes don't have enough depth, or I just think sometimes she goes too much in one direction and doesn't really balance it. But speaking from, you know, experience, what I've done, because it's one of my favorite things to do, is with her MIDI palettes, you can rearrange and make so many on your own, which I enjoy doing. So you can deepen any single one of these looks. And then I also believe in being able to lighten it. And this is really only the light matte shade, which then you can also do a little bit of blending with. So these two were, and I made sure it's not just a stark white. It's a bit of a blue-gray, like what's on my inner corner. These were paramount. So you have your 3 main color stories and your ways to lighten it and deepen it. And even from there, you can mix and match. None of my eye looks that I made were just specifically columns only. I thought that that was going to be way too obvious, and I should show what you can do mixing these around. And then I had fun with the shimmers of thinking, what would be a good idea? So with this, she kind of had like that taupey champagne. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to put a pink in too, Natasha. Okay, we'll do that. And not only did I put one, I put two. So these two shimmers right here, they're different types of pink. One has more of a blue hint in it, and I thought that was fun because of the cool tone greens. And then, you know, we can like, one of the things that happened was her gold palette, or golden? The midi one that came out recently. I heard some negative comments about one of the shades in there because it was a duochrome and it didn't quite make sense. No, my mistake. It was the warm. I'm so sorry. I need a warm. And this particular shade right here, it bothered some people. It's a duochrome. I think it's lovely. I have it on my lids right now. It's shifty. And I thought it was another great, like, it's a warm tone, but you can definitely mix warm and cools together if you do it appropriately. So I don't know why people complained with I need a warm. I thought it was phenomenal for that and phenomenal for this palette. So some of this just made obvious sense to me, mixing in like a taupey silver, which I don't have in this look. I'm so sad. A lot of these I just love. It really made a lot of sense, some of these, then trying not to overload the palette with silvers, which I love silver for my eye looks. So it was fun to create this. This will be my first look that we're doing that I'll show you. One of the things I did, hadn't used it yet, even though this is a very nice and lovely transition shade, or just it's nice and cool tone. I put that here. I did line underneath a little with it. Then I finally used this shade. I was waiting. Some of these I just was so excited to finally get to use. And yes, and once again, I had to use the black. And I definitely did that in the outer V. Yeah. And then I did the really fun duochrome on my lid. I was very happy to do that. And I had not done this light shade yet on my inner corner. I had just really been using that like up high for blending purposes. But here it is on the inner corner. This is the only look I made that does not have a shimmer on the inner corner. It was hard to resist. And then for my second look, it was a purple one where I mixed green and purple. I had a really fun time with that. I got to do like the more mustardy shade and the deeper purple. I then really got to emphasize on some of those fun tones and putting in the pink with the blue. That was very exciting to me. When it came to my third look, which was the cool tone green focused, I actually used the cream to powder shade. I use that in a little bit of a different shape than I normally do, and it's also, it can only go so deep, which I relied on the black to help carry that through and deepen up the outer V. I was a little surprised that I didn't use the shimmer that was directly underneath it in its column, but I instead went for like that more of a pewter, cool tone pewter taupe from the more mustardy green column. I had a really fun time with it. Okay, so then I will show you the shades and which palettes they came from. I also like to date when the palettes came out because I have a hard time finding it really anywhere online that gives a cohesive timeline of her palettes for the midis, or really any of them. So the first shade, I'm going to touch all of these, is Roxa 6. So I'm not sure what it's called. First one I have in there. Then we have Zendo 15. Oh, we're going to have a hard time reading that. Retro 4. I love labeling these. Warm 4. Bloom 15. Mine came broken, but I pressed it back. Thankfully, it was one of those easy to do. Roxa 13. Yucca 4. Xenon 12. Yucca 13. It was hard to not take a lot out of 13. Some of the palettes were hard to keep myself limited to. Roxa 7. And that's one of the duochromes. Retro 12. I don't know if I'm showing the front and back of all of these. Love 10. Retro Glam 15. Xenon 4. And of course, My Dream 1. I think that one's Blackest Black. And those were the palettes I used to make this. I had a really great time. It was really fun making multiple looks with this, and I frequently do things like this with my Natasha Denona verse that I'm afforded to because I have invested so much in the palettes, and this is one of the fun things that you can do. I feel like I'm light on the blues, unfortunately. Wish I had more blues, or really any. So you can do this too. It's really fun. I recommend it. And Little Birdie in the Wind says that her new palettes coming out are unfortunately going to be more expensive and 18 pan, but they will be the same size. So I'm happy that they will still be able to fit in here, but they will not be this size anymore. And that makes me sad because I have them in my little dollhouse organizer and it's not going to fit the same. But this was really fun. I encourage you to do the same thing with your collection.